Do you want to know my true, honest, and unbiased opinion of the 2025 Advent Calendar from Anthropologie? Well, you're going to get it anyway. I think it's actually really good. As a person who does not shop at Anthropologie but has been doing Advent calendars for the last few years, I've seen the differences in the price points and the feel of what you're getting when you open it, whether things feel good or feel bad, because when you're spending close to $100, this sits right just at, I think, $98 or $99, you want to feel like it's worth it. It's 24 days of, opening up small little tiny gifts. And I've gone through other boxes that were less exciting, that had things that didn't feel as high end, or maybe they felt a little bit like maybe I was breaking even, or, you get disappointed because it's like, oh, this is like a sample size of perfume. And these are more like miniatures and travel size things. So I really liked this box. I thought that in terms of variety of types of items, like I feel like I could totally take 90% of this with me traveling. I could also just use it as a trial basis to see items that I liked, to see if this was something I was going to use. It opened my world to many different beauty products, things I'd never heard of, never seen. And while I do think there were kind of like a lot of like perfumey items, I think because of the variety of perfumes that they offered, it made sense to include them. Now, let's start with the box itself. The box itself is a nice, strong, hardy cardboard. It's decorated with a very classic motif. And while I wasn't really too keen on the outside of the box, when I opened the inside of the box, it felt very classic, which was really nice because it kind of is a throwback to a lot of the older, vintagey kind of vibes with a new modern twist that you see a lot of at Anthropologie. Like, it feels very on brand. I could say for this little box right here, it's kind of like an ode to Chanel No. 5. Even the fact that they use this specific bottle style, even though it's entirely not a perfume, you still get that like feeling of luxury that comes along with it. I think they did an excellent job curating all of the different types of things that are in this box. And when I went through and I did the math and I counted out everything, because I needed to know if I was getting ripped off, if like essentially I was paying more for a box than I was the items inside. I saw that there was a big value. Now, I think they estimate it to be closer to like 300. I felt like it sat a little bit closer to 275 based on some of the things that I, investigated. You'd find something that originally sells for $45, but they're only including about 2 ounces of something here, and you do the math from there. But in terms of it being an advent calendar, in terms of this being a gift for somebody, if you're giving it to somebody or if you're purchasing it for yourself, it's definitely worth the $99. Like, I can absolutely say that. Now, the one thing that I felt like stood out with this calendar versus other calendars that I've had in the past is that because things are kind of all over the place in terms of variety, you have an opportunity to keep the things that you really like and kind of regift the other stuff. So if you are buying this for yourself and you want to give something to teachers, you can literally give a few of these items to each teacher. And I know $99 is a huge price point for teacher gifts, but they take care of your kids. Or if you're like me and you like to give things to your girlfriends, it's not always easy to shop for people with a very large budget because most of us don't have that. So being able to grab a handful of items that I think my girlfriend will like, I can do that easily without breaking the bank and while also keeping things for myself. So in terms of like giftability or re-giftability, I think it has a lot to offer with that. If you have a teenager who also likes beauty products, I think this would be a really, really wonderful calendar for them. If you are an elder millennial like I am, who is 40, I think you'd actually enjoy this box just the same as I do, because I felt like, again, it's just such a cool variety of things. And for those of us who are kind of out of touch with beauty products, I think, again, this gives us an opportunity to really look at what's out there without having to break the bank trying a full-size product of something that I wouldn't otherwise even look at. Now, as a person who has traveled with little tiny miniatures in tow, I think that it's been kind of a pain to go to the store and spend like $50-$60 on a bunch of travel-sized items of things that they just have there at the store that aren't necessarily my favorite products and things that I wouldn't always want to purchase. And it's such a high price point. I'm walking out with like 7-8 items, but I'm spending so much money. Here, I feel like because there's such a huge variety, and yes, I keep highlighting the word variety because I think it's important that I can grab from any number of different things and decide which one I like and decide which ones to keep and use when I do travel. Something I forgot to mention about the boxes inside this big box is that the calendar itself is reusable. So if you are less waste, if you are mindful about how you spend your money, and if you're mindful about, not wanting to just deplete the earth in terms of extra packaging and things like that, you can absolutely reuse this. You can use it for your teenager next year, your kids. You can just keep putting new little items inside every year. And I think that that is one of the best parts of this box. Now, there's also a resale value on the box itself. You can resell it on eBay. So I feel like in terms of all the things that I look for when it comes to an Advent box, Advent calendar, this hits a lot of those really important things for me. Now, there are some things that I don't think needed to be included in the box, like this Mighty Patch thing. Like, I could have done without that. I don't really feel like we need another patch for blemishes, especially if this isn't really, something I'm using. But again, being able to pass on these items to people who can use them, I think is really cool. So I've actually only ever been to Anthropologie probably twice in my life, but I did always hear about the Anthropologie Advent box. So I will say that in terms of my honest and unbiased opinion, I absolutely 100% think that this is 100% worth it. I think that it's a great value. I think that it does all the things I want an Advent calendar to do. And I felt really good and very happy opening. I don't feel like I wasted my money. I don't feel like I wasted my time. And ultimately, the fact that there is a repurposing factor here, a resale value that's higher than most. I could easily say that if you are into Advent boxes, this is one that you don't want to miss out on.